Once upon a time in the bustling city of Lusaka, Zambia, there lived a young woman named Chikondi. She was beautiful, intelligent, and had big dreams. But more than anything else, Chikondi wanted a life of luxury. She envied the wealthy women she saw at parties in their expensive clothes, driving their luxury cars, and attending exclusive events. No matter how hard she worked, Chikondi never seemed to earn enough to live the life she craved. One evening, while browsing through social media, she saw something intriguing, a glowing advertisement for a special charm called Kayanmata. The ad promised that with Kayanmata, any woman could attract the richest men and live like a queen. Chikondi's heart raced. This was her way out. Chikondi decided she had nothing to lose. The next day, she tracked down a well-known seller in Lusaka's market. The sun cast a golden glow over the bustling streets of Lusaka as Chikondi navigated the crowded market with determination. Vendors shouted out their wares, fresh produce, colorful fabrics, handmade crafts, but she ignored them all, focused on her destination. Tucked in the farthest corner of the market was a small stall that seemed almost hidden from view. An old woman sat behind a wooden table, her sharp eyes glinting beneath a headscarf. Her table was adorned with an array of vials, powders, and shimmering trinkets, but it was the delicate strands of waist beads, glowing faintly, that caught Chikondi's attention. With a sly smile, "Ah, you have come. You seek Kayanmata, yes?" Chikondi hesitated, her heart racing with anticipation. She had heard whispers about the old woman's charms, stories of their power, of how they had transformed the lives of those brave enough to use them. Smiling, leaning forward, Chikondi replied, "Yes, I want the one that will bring me a wealthy man." The old woman chuckled softly, her knowing eyes narrowing as she reached beneath the table and pulled out a strand of waist beads. The beads glimmered faintly, as if holding a magic of their own. Handing the beads to Chikondi, "This is no ordinary waist bead. Its charm is powerful. Wear it around your waist, and the first man who touches it will be drawn to you, unable to resist your allure." Chikondi's eyes sparkled with excitement as she reached out to take the beads, but the old woman held them tightly for a moment longer. Lowering her voice, "But heed my warning, never take these beads off, not for any reason. If they break, the spell will end, and you will face the consequences." Chikondi barely acknowledged the warning, her mind consumed by visions of the life she had always dreamed of, luxury, admiration, and wealth. She eagerly took the beads, paid the old woman, and hurried home. That evening, she secured the beads snugly around her waist, admiring their beauty in the mirror. Smiling to herself, "This is it. My life is about to change forever." Little did she know, the path she had chosen would bring her not just riches, but a storm of consequences that she could never have imagined. Excitedly, she put on the waist bead with the help of the old woman sealing her fate forever. Within days, things began to change. She was suddenly noticed by all the wealthy men she had only seen from afar. Expensive dinners, lavish gifts, and fancy parties became her daily life. Chikondi felt like she was living in a dream. She soon caught the eye of Jameson, a businessman whose family was known for their immense wealth. Handsome and charming, Jameson became completely captivated by Chikondi. The first to fall under her spell was Jameson, a handsome businessman whose family was known for their immense fortune. Jameson was everything Chikondi thought she wanted, charming, generous, and completely enamored. Offering a luxurious car key, "This is for you, Chikondi, you deserve the best." Chikondi, smiling seductively, twirling her hair, said to him, "You're too generous, Jameson, but I like it." With Jameson, Chikondi's life felt like a dream. Expensive dinners, extravagant gifts, and exclusive parties became her daily routine. He even gave her and her friends enough money to shop and indulge in luxuries they had only fantasized about. But despite everything Jameson lavished upon her, Chikondi's ambition burned brighter. She wanted more. He sent her huge sums of money each time, constantly taking her and her friends shopping. Jameson adored her, but for Chikondi, he wasn't enough. She wanted a man whose wealth would make even Jameson look like a pauper, so she moved on without hesitation. Over the next few weeks, she dated several affluent men, each one wealthier than the last. Every encounter brought her closer to the life she imagined, but none of them satisfied her growing hunger for opulence. And then, just a few weeks later, she met Mwansa. He was charming, handsome, and already dating someone, a kind and loving woman named Naledi, who was also the mother of his young son. But the moment Mwansa's hand brushed against Chikondi's waist, everything changed. His eyes glazed over and his focus shifted entirely to her. Mwansa's wealth seemed endless, far beyond anything Jameson or the other men could offer. Mwansa wasn't just rich. He was powerful, commanding attention wherever he went. His presence was magnetic, and his generosity knew no bounds. For Chikondi it was as if she had discovered a treasure chest at the end of a rainbow. Grinning confidently, "A woman like you deserves to be treated like royalty. You'll never want for anything with me." Suddenly infatuated, he said, "I don't know what it is about you, but I can't get you out of my mind." Chikondi was entranced. She quickly left the other men behind without a second thought, moving on to the life she believed she truly deserved with Mwansa. Everything seemed perfect, only it wasn't. Within days, Mwansa began distancing himself from Naledi. He was distracted, cold, and rarely came home. One evening he sat Naledi down, his demeanor cold and detached. Naledi, concerned, asked, "Mwansa, what's going on? You've been acting so distant. Is there something you're not telling me?" Avoiding her eyes, he told her, "Naledi, I think we need to end this." Shocked. "What, Mwansa? We have a child together. What are you talking about?" Standing up abruptly. "I've met someone else. Chikondi. She's everything I want." Tearing up, clutching their baby. "What about our family? What about our son? You're really going to throw all of this away?" Coldly. "I've made up my mind. I'll provide for the boy financially, but I can't stay in this relationship. It's over, Naledi." Chikondi's plan seemed to be working perfectly. Mwansa was hers now, and he lavished her with gifts, took her on extravagant trips, and declared his undying love. She wore the charmed waist beads every day, carefully following the old woman's instructions to keep them intact. As Chikondi's relationship with Mwansa blossomed, he couldn't help but notice the waist beads she always wore. They peeked out subtly beneath her dresses, their shimmer drawing his eye. One evening, as they relaxed in Mwansa's luxurious penthouse, he finally asked about them. Playfully, with a curious smile, "Chikondi, those beads you always wear, they're beautiful. Is there a story behind them?" Chikondi froze for a moment, her hand instinctively moving to her waist. She quickly masked her unease with a coy smile. Smiling seductively. "Oh, they're just a little something for beauty. A gift from my grandmother, traditional, you know." Nodding. "They do suit you, but why do you never take them off? Not even for our late-night swims." Chikondi's plan seemed to be working perfectly. Mwansa was hers now, and he lavished her with gifts, took her on extravagant trips, and declared his undying love. She wore the charmed waist beads every day, carefully following the old woman's instructions to keep them intact. She wore the charmed waist beads every day, carefully following the old woman's instructions to keep them intact. Months passed, and Chikondi began to feel that her position in Mwansa's life was secure. When she discovered she was pregnant, she was overjoyed, confident that this would solidify her place in Mwansa's life forever. But her joy was short-lived. As her pregnancy progressed, complications arose constantly, but they always managed it. On the day of her delivery, Chikondi found herself in excruciating pain. The doctors declared it an emergency and insisted she needed a C-section to save both her and the baby. The doctor told them, "We have to act now. But those beads around your waist will need to be removed." Chikondi, panicking, shouted, "No, you can't cut them. They must never break." The doctor insisted, saying, "This isn't negotiable, Miss Chikondi. Your life and the baby's life are at stake." Chikondi had no choice. The beads were cut, and in that instant something shifted. Mwansa, who had been lovingly holding her hand, suddenly recoiled, his eyes wide with confusion. The moment the beads snapped, the luxurious hospital room seemed to shift. Mwansa, who had been lovingly holding her hand, suddenly recoiled, his eyes wide with confusion. He now stood a few steps back, his face a mix of confusion and disbelief, touching his temples as if trying to make sense of it all. What just happened? How did I get here? Chikondi, what's going on? Chikondi desperately said, Mwansa, don't you remember? We're in love. You've always been by my side. You said I was the woman you'd waited for all your life. Mwansa's face hardened. His once adoring eyes now stared at her with cold detachment. Sternly, in love, I left Naledi, my family, for you. That doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. Chikondi felt panic rising in her chest. She reached out for his hand, but he pulled away sharply. Frantic, her voice breaking, she said, Mwansa, please, don't say that. We've been through so much together. You love me, and we are about to have a child now. Sneering slightly, shaking his head. Love? You must be joking. This doesn't feel like love. It feels like I've been living someone else's life. Your life. I don't know what spell you put me under, but it's gone now, and so am I. Tears streamed down Chikondi's face as she clutched at her hospital gown, her voice trembling. Chikondi sobbed. Mwansa, I didn't do anything. You're just confused. Think about all the moments we shared, the trips, the parties, the promises you made to me. That was real. But Mwansa's expression didn't soften. If anything, her words seemed to make him angrier. He told her, coldly, the only thing I feel now is regret. Regret for ever leaving Naledi, regret for losing time with my son, and regret for letting you into my life. I don't know how you did it, Chikondi, but you're not the woman I want. You never were. Mwansa turned his back on her and walked toward the door, his footsteps echoing in the silent room. Chikondi called after him, her voice hoarse from crying. Chikondi, screaming, Mwansa, you can't leave me like this. We're supposed to be together. We're supposed to raise this child together. Mwansa paused briefly at the door, glancing back at her one last time. It was as if a fog had lifted from Mwansa's mind. He stared at Chikondi, not with love, but with a mixture of confusion and disdain. Angrily, what have you done to me? Where's Naledi? What was I doing here with you? As the operating theater doors swung open, Chikondi's cries echoed through the hallway. The doctor shouted to the team, we need to move fast. Her condition is critical. Mwansa runs out of the hospital, unsure of where to find Naledi and their son. Inside the theater, the doctors worked frantically. Chikondi's heart raced not only from the medical emergency, but from the fear of losing Mwansa. She kept repeating his name under her breath, clinging to the hope that he would come to his senses and fight for her. Outside the theater, Mwansa paced back and forth. The events of the day had shaken him, but with each passing moment, clarity returned to his mind. He thought about Naledi, her gentle smile, her unwavering support, and their son. Hours later, Chikondi woke up in the recovery room, weak and disoriented. Her hand instinctively went to her waist, but the beads were gone. The doctors had removed them during the emergency procedure. Her mind raced as she scanned the room, searching for Mwansa. Weakly, Mwansa, where is Mwansa? The nurse replied softly, I'm sorry, but he left. The nurse's words hit Chikondi like a thunderbolt. She stared blankly at the ceiling, tears streaming down her face as the reality of her situation settled in. Her child was born weak, clinging to life, and Mwansa, the man she had staked everything on, was gone. In the days that followed, Chikondi's world continued to unravel. The baby's health declined, and despite the doctor's best efforts, the child passed away. Chikondi was left alone, haunted by the choices she had made. Mwansa had returned to Naledi, cutting all ties with her. Her once glamorous life had crumbled, leaving her with nothing but regret and the weight of her actions. In her desperation to hold on to love built on lies, Chikondi lost everything. Her story is a reminder that deceit may bring temporary gains, but it cannot sustain the foundation of a meaningful life.